Thank you. Minister, roughly 22,000 children will need childcare in Clare by 2027. Only 5 services have registered and only 26 individual childminders have done the mandatory pre-registration training so far. With less than 2 years before these new regulations take effect, what has been done to ensure the number of childminders will be sufficient to meet the future demand in Clare by 2027?
Question 7. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Deputy. Childminders are a hugely important part of early learning and care and school-age childcare provision, and they continue to be the option of choice for many families. The National Action Plan for Childminding 21-28 set out a key pathway for the extension of regulation to childminders. A singular objective of the National Action Plan for Childminding is to enable parents who use childminders to benefit from state subsidies through the National Childcare Scheme. The Childcare Support Act 2018, which provides a statutory basis for the National Childcare Scheme, specifies that only TUSLA registered childminders are eligible to participate in the scheme. The limitation of public funding schemes to TUSLA registered providers helps to ensure that public funding is provided where there is an assurance of the quality of provision. It must be noted that childminding regulations only came into effect in September of 24, with a statutory transition period of 3 years ending in September 27. Registration is therefore not mandatory until the end of this transition period. This phased approach aims to facilitate the largest possible number of childminders to enter the regulated sector, the sphere of quality assurance and access to government subsidies, while recognising the time and supports required for childminders to learn about and prepare for registration. Childminding specific regulations are designed to be proportionate and appropriate to the home and family setting in which childminders work. The regulations differ substantially from regulations for centre-based childcare. While the Department has successfully completed Phase 1 of the National Action Plan, considerable work lies ahead during Phase 2 in supporting the large number of unregistered childminders to register with TUSLA and take part in the National Childcare Scheme before the end of the transition period in County Clare and right across the country. I fully understand the sense of uncertainty and anxiety childminders may be experiencing in this period of transition, and I believe communication is essential in overcoming this. A national communication strategy is a key element in Phase 2 of the National Action Plan during the transition period we are now in. Work on this communication strategy has begun, aiming to inform childminders and parents about the changes, supports available and what to expect. The Department is committed to a review of the initial implementation of the childminding specific regulations in Phase 2 also. I aim to meet with Childminding Ireland on a one-to-one basis before the review of the regulation commences also. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. In Clare, we will need roughly 170 childminders to accommodate the number of children who will use individual childminder services. I can tell you that my experience on the ground in Clare is that existing services are already under huge pressure, with long waiting lists, very limited availability in many areas, and increasing numbers of childminders unfortunately shutting up shop. I acknowledge the need for registration, but I'm very concerned about how this will play out if there is a well-thought strategy plan put in place to retain existing childminders and encourage new entrants to the sector, which is vital and important for our young generation in these very demanding times.
Thanks very much, Deputy. Look, I want to acknowledge, that the issue of childminders and registration and the challenges that they might face has been consistently raised in this chamber. And again, I don't wish to be repetitive, but I do want to say and absolutely acknowledge childminders are an incredibly important and valuable resource within the whole sphere of the childcare sector, and I want them to continue in the business. I have to ensure that they are regulated, and I think it has already been referenced. I don't think any childminders are opposed to that, but it is an important element of child safeguarding. There will be a review, I've spoken about it earlier, in terms of the new regulations. There will be a review as early as possible in 2026. I think that will be important in terms of engagement. I've also given the commitment to meet with Childminding Ireland prior to the commencement of that review. Yesterday I published with Shaping the Future, the Early Years Action Plan. And the action plan commits to restructuring the core funding pilot for registered childminders during 2026. In other words, there are a number of childminders within this pilot who are part of the core funding process. That will be restructured as well going forward to bring more and more into it. That's my personal ambition anyway. I am committed to us continuing to work with childminders to make it as easy and accessible as possible for them to come within the regulations. Thanks, Deputy.
My main concern is there will be only a trickle of applications for the training and they'll be flooded at the last minute. I think, Minister, we can be smart here and avoid that last minute surge by putting in place a planned, targeted information campaign for next year, possibly using the childcare committees. This will ensure any misinformation around the process is countered, and that anyone who might be interested hears about this well before the deadline, which is important. We could take this campaign directly to the parents by going to the schools. This, I believe, would really drive a huge awareness campaign at local level, especially in the more rural areas where the impact will be mostly felt.
Yeah, thanks very much, Deputy. And I really do appreciate that you have come with many, many positive suggestions as to how we can, how we can collaboratively, I suppose, support childminders going forward. I do want to say that already the department provides funding to each of the county and city childcare committees, so that there is a specific individual, a childcare or a childminding development officer in place in each one of these committees to work directly with childminders. I think that's an important access point, if you like, for childminders, and I think that will be drawn upon more and more. I fully accept, and I've already outlined, a stronger communication campaign, which we are in the process of undertaking. We will do all that we can and appreciate the many examples you have given. We will do all that we can, Deputy, to ensure that the maximum number of people are, I suppose, on a consistent basis engaging before 2027. It is a feature of life that there's always a rush towards the end, and I absolutely accept it won't serve us well. It would be better that it would be a consistent registration. So we will continue to work on that and appreciate your input. Thank you, Deputy.